Default is not an option. Repeated that time and again. America is not a deadbeat nation. We pay our bills.
The only thing we're asking is that next year we spend the same amount of money that we spent 5 months ago. I didn't find progress in this meeting.
All right, that was kind of a dim view after these leaders met at the White House, and more importantly, the president, Kevin McCarthy, but you also had Hakeem Jeffries there and Chuck Schumer there, Mitch McConnell there. But they apparently didn't make much progress. They're going to be back at it again, we're told, on Friday. Their staffs, at least, are meeting every day in between. Dusty Johnson, the South Dakota Republican senator, joins us. I love having the congressman on because, A, he's not crazy. B, he tries to find a middle ground on which both parties can agree. He heads the Problem Solvers Caucus. He's the vice chair, actually. But he tries to find ways that we can work around our differences. Crazy concept, but he's here to explain what could be done. Congressman, great to see you. It doesn't look good from what I'm hearing, Congressman, about both sides sort of zinging the other. Maybe that's just all theater and that behind the scenes something's getting done. But time's a wasting. Do you think we can have a deal done?
I actually think there's been a lot of good news in the last 24 hours, Neil. Maybe I shouldn't be more pessimistic given how often Washington, D.C. disappoints us. But number one, they met. That was hugely important because Joe Biden had refused to meet for 97 days. And you're right, there was not a big breakthrough yesterday. But you've got to have a certain number of these performative meetings with posturing before you get down to the real work. And so at least they knocked out one of the posturing meetings. I think that's really important. Secondly, the fact that they have instructed staff to be working between now and Friday is really good. And then the third piece of exceptionally good news is there is movement. Joe Biden has been talking as though clawing back some of those COVID funds, that might be an area of agreement. And then there is news on the Hill today that the White House is going to roll out some principles surrounding permitting reform and where they might be able to reach agreement with us on that. We need to unlock American energy. The fact that we've already got Joe Biden making some concessions, I think shows that he realizes he's got a very weak hand of cards right now. All right.
The fact of the matter is the White House Democrats are insisting that it's not an immediate quid pro quo. Whatever budgetary issues are addressed, to your point, sir, that comes after the debt ceiling is raised. Republicans are equally adamant that not be the case. And 43 Republican senators are of the opinion that they won't agree to a debt ceiling only hike. What do you make of that?
Well, listen, the White House can call these things whatever they want, whatever shade of lipstick they want to put on a pig. I totally get it. We're going to get to yes. We're not going to default. We already have a number of swing seat Democrats and moderate Democrats who have been saying for weeks, and that number is growing, that, Mr. President, you've got to negotiate. And there are areas like caps, like work requirements, like permitting reform that have been areas of bipartisan agreement in the past. Let's do it again. Joe Biden's having a hard time holding his team together. I think ultimately that's good news for a deal.
All right. The fact of the matter is each party blames the other for, holding the government hostage. The fact of the matter is Joe Biden himself, when he was a senator in 2003, 5, and 6, had been against raising the debt ceiling. Republicans during that time when George W. Bush was president had to do it on their own. So there's enough of this crazy chicanery to fill a confession booth. But leaving that aside, do you think that it's possible we'll still see our debt downgraded because of all this craziness up until the deadline, just like it was in 2011?
Well, I wasn't around in 2011, but I was a citizen who paid a lot of attention to what was going on. And at that time, I believe, Neil, the debt was not downgraded because of the messy process to get to a deal. It was that ultimately the deal didn't do enough to stave off insolvency. I think that's a real fear we should have now, too. Listen, we've got both Medicare and Social Security that'll go insolvent in the course of the next decade. Yeah. We have, over the next 10 years, it'll be $10 trillion of payments, just interest on the debt, compared to $3 trillion in the last 10 years. We're at an inflection point. Modest tweaks at the edges are not going to be enough to restore creditworthiness of this country.
Yeah, you're a long way from that, to your point. We'll see how it works. Congressman, thank you very much. Hope your half full glass of you is accurate. I want to go to Brian Brenberg, what's coming up on his big show, but